Hello and welcome to a new Cardfight Vanguard overdress episode review. An episode review where I actually remembered to hit record this time. I am not joking, the reason this one's going up a little later than usual is because I recorded it. I gave all my thoughts and stuff on the episode and everything, but I forgot to hit record. So I had to take a few minutes to recover from that and then, work up the courage, I guess, to try again. And it's a shame because I quite liked how it turned out last time, but let's just go through it. So this is the new episode of Cardfight Vanguard overdress, of course. Episode 3 of Season 2 and episode 15 overall. And let's just talk about it. So it was a pretty good episode. I think it's going to be an episode that a lot of people will be pretty indifferent towards in future. I'm pretty indifferent towards it in regards to like the comparison of the rest of the episodes. I thought the rest of the episodes so far have been so good that this one's going to be one of the more forgettable ones as time progresses. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think it was filler. In fact, I like that they're taking their time to really re-establish these characters before the plot stuff happens. Because this is a series where, of course, you're supposed to care about the characters, and as they take time to really establish them and bring them back and sort of so that you know where they are, like mentally and everything, it means that you care more when the conflict between Daybreak and everything happens. I will say, we're 3 episodes through Season 2 already, that's 3 out of 10. We are not finishing the Daybreak conflict this season. It ain't happening. There's no way we managed to defeat Daybreak in just 10 episodes when it's already taken 3 episodes to just reintroduce everyone. So let's just talk about it, right? Because this is definitely one of my least favorite episodes of overdress so far, but again, I still liked it. So this one's going to be a bit more negative than usual, but just bear in mind that at the end of the day, this was a fun, lighthearted, comedic episode, and so I didn't necessarily hate it either, I know a lot of people, whenever I say anything negative at all, are going to immediately go, oh, he hated the episode. When, no, trust me, if you want to see me hating an episode, watch pretty much any of my Shinemon arc episode reviews. They're pretty old, so that I don't know if they hold up or anything, but that episode 2 review specifically, I think, I wasn't very happy. So you haven't seen me negative yet if you've only been watching my overdress videos. Yeah, so of course I have this image up first because I want to talk about Akane and Mai. Got to give an update on them every time they show up. I saw someone point out that they have new outfits. They do not. See, the editing that video essay has ruined me. I've seen so much footage that immediately the moment I saw them I went, those are not new outfits. They just took their coats off. Because I've just seen too much overdress footage. I'm too familiar with these characters and how they look, basically. But yeah, they showed up. They didn't really contribute anything too massively. They were basically just showing that they're back again, because in the previous episode, most of Blackout had kind of split up, and now each of the characters is sort of coming back to Blackout again to hang out at Wonder Hill, and these two are hanging out there again. They got a couple of voice lines, which is great. I think Mai only had 1 or 2 in the previous season in its entirety, so seeing her get any new voice lines at all was really cool. One thing I want to point out is that in the English dub, Mai and Mireille have the same voice actress, which is really funny. But yeah, no, I liked seeing them again. That was fun. So the main focus of the episode was, of course, getting Megumi back, because this is one thing that might become a problem if they keep doing it, because originally I thought this was something that only happened with Danji, but now that it's happening with more characters than just Danji, it's becoming a bit of a repetitive plot point. And that's whenever a character is going through something or has some kind of conflict happening, they just sort of run away. And to be fair, now that I think about it, that's kind of what Yuyu does in episode 1, and that's kind of the thing that starts the whole series in the first place. But whenever characters are under any kind of stress or any kind of problem happens, instead of, talking about it with the person, they just disappear. And that is now, in this episode, Danji is missing, and now Megumi is missing, and hell, no one's mentioned it yet, but Sakusa is also missing. I don't know where he is. I'm sure they'll explain where he was. I kind of have a theory that he's already doing some research on where Daybreak are and everything on his own, and he'll kind of come back with some info in an episode or 2. But like, yeah, having episode, like, this is the second episode of 3 in season 2 already, where the plot has been, this character has gone missing, let's go find them and convince them to come back. And in episode 1 it wasn't successful, but in episode 3 it was. I don't know, it's just, again, as a character trait that's consistent to Danji, I don't mind too much, because it's a thing that he just does, and that fits with him. But having, like, other characters do it, if we, basically, I don't have a problem with it now, but if it happens, like, too many more times, it'll just become a bit too repetitive, you know? It's like, gotta keep things fresh and unpredictable, please. Not even necessarily unpredictable, but it's like, when you see the same plot line, like, play out the same time over and over, like, over and over again, the same way each time, it just gets a little predictable, and it's like, you know, these characters can actually talk to each other, please. That would be nice. Like, I'd understand it if this was closer to the beginning, when, like, they're not really friends. And to be fair, Megumi isn't really friends with Tohya yet. But, like, the fact that she'd refuse to talk to Tomori or Yu-yu or anyone is weird. I know it's probably leading towards a character arc with Megumi becoming more friendly with everyone and everything, but it's like, we've already seen a full season's worth of, like, slice of life adventures of Megumi hanging out with the others, so it just feels a little weird. Again, it's not a big problem. It feels like I'm saying it's more of a problem than it is, but that's the thing, right? So yeah, getting straight into it. Yu-yu and Tohya are going after Megumi. Megumi's butler says, she doesn't want me to let you near her, but if you do want to be near her, your best chance is going to the school. Which is a good line from him, because it means that he cares about her, because, well, he has to still do his job, and his job is doing what she says, and she says to not let them near her. So he's still technically abiding by her rules, but he's saying, hey, you know, if you want to find her, here's where you can go, basically. But of course, it's an all-female school, and the moment they mentioned that, and the moment they showed the sisters, I knew basically the rest of how the episode was going to play out. Yeah, again, this is more of a nitpick. I guess this is just a nitpick-riddled episode. This could have done, like, another draft of the script. Another thing, too, actually, that they never really clarify is, so if Megumi's at school, then why is Yu-yu just hanging around? Like, Tohya mentions it, but Yu-yu doesn't answer. And I'm like, no, that's kind of important. I want to know why Yu-yu isn't at school, but Megumi is. They could have come up with plenty of explanations for why. I mean, hell, they're at different schools, you know? Like, maybe they just don't line up with what days you have to go in and what days you don't, you know? Like, maybe, like, when you take a term off of school, like a holiday off or whatever, like, school starts up again on different days depending on which school you go to. Like, there's plenty of reasons they could have, and it just feels weird that, like, there's a lot of, I don't want to call them plot holes, but I guess they kind of are, because they're just things that the episode refuses to tell us. And that's the thing I was going to mention is, yes, I know that this is a comedy episode, and so I probably shouldn't care about all this stuff, but it feels very forced having them cross-dress, you know? Like, they could have handled it in so many different ways. They could have had Yuyu's sisters go in, you know? Like, because that's the thing, is the security of the school seems very weird. Because it's like, okay, so it's an all-female school, so they're not going to let any guys in, except there's a bathroom specifically for guys in the school. I'm assuming that's just for staff, so that's okay. Like, there are certain staff members that are still dudes, like a janitor or a teacher or something. That's fine. I'm okay with it being a male bathroom in a all-girls school. That's fine. But it's weird how guys aren't allowed in, and they're very strict against that, and Yu-yu and Tohya couldn't just sneak in as guys. But any girl can get in without any problem, which is not how schools work. Now, of course, you could make the excuse that, well, you know, Yu-yu was wearing the school uniform that his sister still had. And okay, that's fair. I could definitely see how someone, you know, a girl wearing the school uniform could get in pretty easily. But then they have Tohya, which, I mean, I do like the commitment to the bit, actually having him cross-dress anyway. But surely it would have made more sense to have him wait outside the school while Yu-yu tries to explain everything inside the school. Because they tried to pass Tohya off as Yu-yu's mother, which again, it's a fun joke, don't get me wrong. It just doesn't really make sense because it's like, how did she get in? Because trust me, if a random woman went up to the school during like class hours saying, I am the mother of a student, they wouldn't just let you walk in, I don't think anyway. So like, I don't know, maybe it's a plot hole, maybe there's an explanation that they just didn't tell us, maybe I wasn't paying enough attention. It just feels weird, it feels like there's so many other ways they could have handled it. They could have had one of Yu's sisters go in, you know? In fact, that would have made a lot more sense than the cross-dressing, because she even used to be a student and still has the uniform. She could have went in and told Megumi, hey, you know, meet Yu-yu at Wonder Hill at this time or whatever. I guess there's always the chance that Megumi wouldn't take it seriously or wouldn't listen. But there's also, like, you know, you could have had Yu-yu just go in and Tohya, like I said, wait outside for any updates or info or anything, you know? Like, there's just a lot of different ways we could have went about this. It just feels like they were willing to sacrifice a lot of that common sense just so they could have the joke. And to be fair, that's another thing, is I do think this stuff was pretty funny. I don't think it was, like, hilarious, but I thought it was pretty funny and entertaining. But I also think that, like, the joke isn't, like, oh, they're men in girls' clothing. The joke was Megumi being so caught off guard by it. Now, of course, some people are probably going to laugh at, you know, Tohya cross-dressing anyway, but it didn't really feel like they played that off as the joke. It felt like they more played the joke as how chaotic the situation was with Megumi seeing them out of context like this. I don't know, I mean, I guess I'm being pedantic here, but I thought it was pretty entertaining overall. I just think the setup to it was a bit contrived. Which, like, this is the only real episode I can think off the top of my head where it feels like that, you know? It just felt like it was going for a more comedic tone. And, you know, when you're going for a more nonsensical comedic tone, you can kind of get away with that anyway, you know? Like, I don't really think there are all that many other people other than me who are, like, thinking this hard about this stuff, but that's just what I like to do. That's why I make these videos in the first place. I thought, like, the joke of them, like, trying to communicate with each other without actually saying anything was pretty funny. But yeah, no, I thought it was pretty entertaining. And of course, the whole point of this episode, because of course a lot of people are going to be like, well, then, you know, this isn't this filler then. Like, this is kind of a waste of time. And it's like, well, first of all, I think it's supposed to be like, it's supposed to balance the tone, because let's face it, we know the second half of this season is going to get pretty story focused and maybe even a little dark, similar to the ending of season 1 where it started taking itself pretty seriously near the end. I think that's going to happen again here, probably even more so. And so, you know, balancing it off by having it begin very, like, lighthearted and comedic, I think that works, you know, like, you gotta have a pretty even palette, you know, you can't just have everything be all dark and depressing. Having some more lighthearted moments to just see the characters goof around is definitely something that I like seeing. So, there's that. But also, like I said, this is a character-focused series, and so character progression, seeing these characters do things, basically, is plot progression in this series. Because the point of this episode is we were seeing Megumi be very unsure of what to do, what's going to happen. You know, she just lost Ganji because he went wandering off, and she doesn't trust Tohya, who is the new leader of Blackout, and so having an episode where Tohya is willing to embarrass himself to get close to Megumi so that he can explain everything, I think when I say it like that, it sounds really good, you know? It's like, oh, okay, cool, it's good, it's progression for Tohya more so than anything else. The fact that he's willing to go out of his way like this to show that he's sorry and he regrets everything. You know, like, I was genuinely kind of expecting his redemption arc, quote-unquote, to basically just be the previous episode where he fixes Wonder Hill, but he's still, like, showing that, like, he's willing to do whatever it takes to set things right. And that's also a thing that happens later on in episode 2, where he sees a video of Mireille and is like, we gotta stop Daybreak. And that's a thing that I was speculating about, and I'm glad happened here, was that Tohya basically explained that, hey, he was working with Daybreak in some capacity in season 1, so he might have some info and stuff that would be very useful to us. So it seems like he's definitely going to be leading like the forefront of the attack against Daybreak, and Yu-yu and Megumi also say that they want to join in too. And that's kind of where we leave the episode off. We have a post-credit scene. If you're someone who's watching overdress, remember to watch all the way to the end, because not only do we get episode previews now, but we also get post-credit scenes. And I'm really excited for the next episode, but like I said, we'll talk about that next week. But the post-credit scene is basically just Danji standing outside of Daybreak, having arrived there from the train in episode 1. And that's where we leave it off. So yeah, pretty good episode. I know it does sound like I was very negative, and I definitely think this episode could have been better. And you know, when we look back on the season as a whole, this will probably be one of the episodes I don't really care for that much in comparison to the others. But I do think it was definitely like a needed breath of fresh, a bit of breathing room, a bit of time to really make sure we know where each character is. I do think it was a little repetitive to just have Megumi run off in the same way that Danji does. I mean, there is an element of like her like copying what he does because she looks up to him and that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I still think the end that this episode was a means to, like the effect this episode had, so that we know like why these three main characters, Tohya, Yuyu, and Megumi, are doing the things that they're doing. I think that made it worth it, and I still enjoyed it anyway. You know, like there was nothing god awful here, right? So yeah, that's all I really have to say about this episode. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and all that other stuff to see more Cardfight Vanguard overdress videos in the future. And I will see you later with some more videos soon. Remember, for every statement, there's always an asterisk.